Hello and welcome to our webinar on the topic of winning strategies to capture more share of wallet in the era of Industry 5.0. My name is Angela Tricoli. I am the Global Vice President of Product Marketing at Spryker, and I will be moderating today's session. I'm joined today by Mike Pierce. Mike is a visionary leader in technology and digital transformation, known for helping companies leverage innovation to outpace their competition and achieve their business vision. A former Army veteran and accomplished CIO, Mike combines strategic expertise with a passion for continuous service and creativity. He's also an avid drawer, sculptor, lifelong soccer player, and VR fitness enthusiast. We also have with us Bob Flynn, Senior Account Executive at Spryker. Bob has spent most of his career in networking, cloud, and cybersecurity, supporting large enterprise customers across the US. Most recently, he supported a Global 500 manufacturing company in achieving their digitization efforts and brings with him a wealth of information about digital transformation. Bob lives in Raleigh, North Carolina with his wife Jackie and 4-year-old daughter Juliana, where he enjoys cycling, golf, and Hurricanes hockey. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Let's jump into our discussion. We have a lot of topics to cover. Mike, I'm going to go to you first. With the increasing complexity that I think all of us are seeing in B2B commerce, how can manufacturers stay competitive and create more customer value in Industry 5.0?
Yeah, I think it's a great time for manufacturers, for B2B generally. There's so many opportunities out there with the digital platforms that are available to us, whether that's commerce, sales, CRM. There's all kinds of systems now that can facilitate that selling process for manufacturers, and not only the selling initially, but the aftermarket, the service and care of those customers, the support, and in empowering them with self-serve capabilities. So I think customers, whether it's B2B, B2C, people at work, or people that are consuming products through their favorite retailers, they all expect that same digital convenience. And I think that's where manufacturers need to look today. So obviously manufacturers and the products that manufacturers produce for their customers will always be vital and essential to the value that customers see. But more and more, they also expect this digital halo, this convenience that digital self-serve provides, that online portals and storefronts, and the ability to enable and automate these transactions for their customers is going to be paramount, a core competency for all manufacturers going forward, and will be vital for them to invest in to be competitive in the digital age.
Makes sense. Now, once you've set up that foundation for innovation, once you've kind of, understood as an organization what it will take to be successful, what's next? Can you share a little bit on how Echidna advises manufacturers to really take that next step in making these critical decisions?
Sure, yeah, and it really does depend on, the stage of maturity that the enterprise is at. We have large manufacturing clients that obviously have very robust business processes and project management offices, and they've been very established in the traditional way of innovating over time, large upgrades, updating new systems, implementing those systems, and then typically allowing them to run and operate in the form that they were implemented. Nowadays, we expect to continually innovate. We expect all of this innovation to come onto the market, and our customers expect us to implement those innovations into the services and capabilities we provide to them. So we spend a lot of time with our clients, our new clients especially, learning their business, understanding where they are in that digital maturity model, helping them understand where they are and what new investments they need to make in either technology or even their methodology. So helping them understand how to craft these solutions from a user experience standpoint, whether that's their customer users and the various roles within their customer organizations, whether they're technical folks looking for technical publications, or accounts receivable or accounts payables needing to pay invoices, or you got sales and purchasing and procurement departments all coordinating to establish bids and quotes and complete those sales. In all cases, there's opportunity for digital convenience to be introduced and to enable those processes and procedures to be much more automated, much more convenient to serve those business customers as they operate their day-to-day business with your products.
Makes sense. And what I'm hearing from you, Mike, is that there's a lot of transformation happening with respect to the way that these manufacturers are going to market and really the sales channels that they're using to engage with their customers and with their prospects. Bob, I want to kind of bring it over to you. From your perspective, what are some of the primary factors that a manufacturer really needs to consider when determining the most effective sales channels for their business?
Sure. Yeah, I think customer experience is probably the most important. Your sales channels should support ease of access and be aligned to your customer expectations. Today, I think those expectations include both a mix of digital capabilities with person-to-person interactions. Industrial manufacturing customers are increasingly looking for seamless purchasing experiences, which extends to customer support and after-sales services. So you need to factor these requirements for your sales channel. You also need to consider the capabilities of your channel, assess the geographic and demographic reach of each channel, and ensure this aligns with both your target audience and your strategic ambitions. Cost efficiency is another critical factor in determining the channel effectiveness. What are the costs to set up, to maintain, and to transact via the different channels? Organizations are turning to digital channels to reduce the cost of sales. But of course, this depends on the way that the channel is used and integrated into the existing channel strategies. Your existing channel partners are also a major consideration. For example, do you work with value-added resellers or distributors who support fulfillment of your products to the end buyers? If so, it's important to figure out how to integrate these partners into your channel strategy, especially as you bring new digital capabilities online. And finally, think about the products that you're selling. As an example, in discrete manufacturing, you have everything from configure to order products to engineer to order products. The former lends itself really well to the digital sales environment, especially when paired with advanced product configuration capabilities. The latter is much less scalable, and it simply doesn't align well to the digital sales environment. So, other considerations related to products would be things like regulatory and compliance requirements. So to sum up, I think manufacturers need to consider customer experience, channel capabilities across geographies, cost efficiency, current channel partners, and the type of products being sold when they're evaluating the most effective sales channel for their business.
Wow. Okay. So, admittedly, there's quite a lot to be considered here, but I think that's a fantastic list and definitely one that would get someone started. Thank you so much, Bob, for sharing that. The other side of things, right? So we're talking about what the organization needs to do. I'm going to flip it over to, what we're seeing in the market and some of the drivers that are really compelling manufacturers to think differently about their sales channel strategy in general. And that's the customer, right? So Mike, what are some of the more significant changes that you've seen recently in B2B buyer behavior that manufacturers just have to respond to today?
Yeah, I think traditionally, manufacturers really didn't need to market their products much. There were certainly channels and presence out there that provided information to their end customers in the use of their, machinery. I'm thinking heavy industry primarily. We're seeing a lot of this, as well as the aviation division segments. And they didn't necessarily need to do a lot of marketing because they were through distribution, through dealers, through other channels that got their product to market. But we're finding that now, as the capabilities are, surfacing for manufacturers to create these connections directly with customers, to build a digital halo, provide software subscriptions, upgrades, many services around these machines, these items that they're selling to their customers, they're able to embolden that revenue with new revenue streams, new capabilities, and new ways to connect with those customers, and ideally optimize what their products are able to do for their business. So learning how to establish a marketing presence, to initiate these conversations, to facilitate the discovery that business buyers are typically taking on themselves now before contacting sales, enabling that nurtured process to really identify the sale and then convert them for that sale, providing the self-guided assistance when it's appropriate, but really enabling that process up until that point. So really for both the sales and the buyer, it really is an efficient process to identify what is the right fit for you and how do you establish that sale efficiently. After that, sales also become much more important for manufacturers because now they have these opportunities to establish connections with their end customers, retain that loyalty, and then build upon that customer retention with new product lines, new potential capabilities, and again, more digital self-service, more convenience to enable them. These on the front end are going to be key for manufacturers. The other thing I think we're finding is oftentimes with clients, oftentimes these sales are happening in the back office through phone calls, through emails, when they haven't updated their systems just yet. It does require a lot of human involvement, but those humans also act as sort of gatekeepers for the data that's coming in to manage it through their cycles and through their entry paths into the systems. They're able to kind of manage that data appropriately within those different business units. When we start talking about self-serve and pushing these capabilities out to the edges for customers to do themselves, there is quite a transformational effect on just the data and organizations getting their heads around how do we enable these capabilities at the self-serve level so that we can make it a convenient experience for them to get assistance when they need it, or to self-serve all the way through the buying process when that makes sense for them.
Mike, thank you so much. That makes a lot of sense. I love also this concept that you're raising about having this digital halo effect and really making sure that you're creating this almost omnipresent experience for customers. Bob, I want to really dive deeper into these evolving B2B customer experiences and expectations. I was recently reading a McKinsey report where they were highlighting that hybrid sales, just like Mike was referencing, is really gaining a lot of traction. And I love what Mike was talking about with respect to this self-guided discovery, especially in after sales. How do you think manufacturers can really effectively integrate these traditional sales reps that are so core to their business with digital assisted buying platforms? How do we create that hybrid experience?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Overall, B2B e-commerce has taken the lead as the most effective sales channel. Customers are increasingly willing to spend more money on e-commerce transactions, but these sales, they're not done automatically. Winning companies are deploying hybrid sales teams. It's a mix of human and digital interactions. For example, companies that increase their hybrid sales teams by more than 10% are 79% more likely to be market share winners. We see the digital sales channel as being very complementary to the traditional sales channels. So let's say you have a buyer who enters your site and discovers products relevant to them, but they have questions. They want to speak to an expert. Including a talk to expert function enables you to quickly address the buyer's needs. Another example would be integrating an advanced request for quote capability that allows your reps to go back and forth with customers, much like they would during in-person negotiations. The difference is that once the final quote is approved, it automatically converts to a cart and the customer can check out at that very moment. Overall, this hybrid sales approach has many benefits. First, it increases customer satisfaction with simpler, more efficient engagements. So you make more money. Second, it accelerates your sales cycle, so you make money faster. And third, it lowers your cost of sales, so you save money. And finally, it empowers your sales team, freeing up their time to focus on more value-add activities, which increases employee satisfaction, which means increased retention, which means save more money. You still need real people in your sales process. You need experts, and you need people driving customers and potential customers to your site, explaining to them the benefits and ease in working with your company.
I love that. And I think you hit the nail on the head, right? You make more money, you make it faster, and you're saving money while you're doing it. I'm guessing that this is why there's been such a kind of acceleration of interest in things like hybrid sales, digital self-service portals, things like that. Mike, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are here. How can manufacturers adapt their strategies and their technologies to meet these evolving needs and requirements, right? We've kind of been talking theoretically about the need, practically, like what are they doing? How do they get it done?
Yeah, it's a tough question because like every enterprise, these tend to be fairly unique processes for each company. It depends on the culture, it depends on where they are from a maturity standpoint, it depends on how much guidance they need in sort of setting the vision. Where we like to start is saying, ask your customers, talk to your customers, what would benefit them the most. We're all consumers, we're all digital consumers, we have been for a long time now. We have expectations about what we demand from our digital devices, from the brands we do business with. Even as consumers, we've known Amazon, of course, is always the reference model for what we expect. If they can do it, we expect you to do it. The same is true with the business now, not only to the extent that Amazon does, but especially in these business-to-business relationships. They know their businesses so well. These relationships are truly personalized when the data is exposed to that level, and they understand what the business transactions are, and they understand how to best facilitate those through online convenience. So start with your customers, talk to them about what would empower them, what would make their life easier in working with you, and begin building out, designing out a vision for an initial, what we call the minimum viable product. This is a unique, novel concept, but to establish this sort of point in time where we say we're going to get a foundation in place, we're going to get a digital presence, a digital portal, a digital storefront, call it what you want, but there's a place in which you need to get established. And through that practice, oftentimes many of these MVP projects are about 4 to 6 months long. We often say we could go much faster, but what we find, it's actually the organizations learning how this is going to change how they operate and seeing the potential of what it can do. And it's when they start awakening to those potentials, we really start seeing the innovation come into play. So we always target, let's get an MVP out there, let's establish a foundation, a baseline of both modern systems and modern practices. And from there, you just continually innovate, following that practice and seeking out how best to implement the convenience that are going to best serve your customers. There's no losing when you take that type of approach.
Yes, that makes perfect sense. I think a lot of organizations, they just want to go big bang, and they aren't able to pivot and really see what's going to deliver the best value both to their customers as well as to their internal stakeholders like the sales team and other members across the organization. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
And I think that's key. I think if there is any competitive differentiators going forward, we could certainly talk about technology, we could talk about products, we could talk about market position. But I think fundamental to it all is that agility, that practice of agility, and that expectation that change will continue to come. So how do you become controllers of that change? How do you drive it for your benefit, for your customers' benefit, rather than just allowing it to be enforced upon you as the market moves you?
Amazing. Now I want to stay with you, and I actually want to pivot from strategy and digital transformation holistically to some of these new technologies that are really underpinning this shift, the new technologies that are driving this move to Industry 5.0 and what that entails. What are some of the latest innovations that you're keeping your eye on that you feel are really shaping the future of these one-stop shop hybrid experiences in the B2B space?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the generative AI and AI that's clearly on the horizon will be significantly disruptive, and I'll come back to that. But I think maybe even in more modern technology terms, and through these processes that I'm talking about, as we engage with our clients, we find that they themselves begin learning more about how their enterprise operates, because we have to consolidate. E-commerce is kind of a microcosm of the entire business in that one space. And so we have to employ, the people and the subject matter experts from every part of the business in many of these conversations to determine what is the self-serve capabilities, what are the automated capabilities we want to provide to your customers. And it's through those conversations they begin not only understanding more holistically how their business operates, but also recognize ways in which they could then help the business innovate or leverage technology to better serve their customers' needs or their particular role that they serve. So we find that it's a modest thing. Digital transformation, I feel, is still the most significant aspect of where manufacturers should be focused. Yeah, AI, it's not as glamorous as the AI, it's not as glamorous as all those things to come. But to be honest, it's the establishment of these foundational mature practices and systems and the interoperability of these systems, the understanding of how the procedures work, that then informs the organization to know where best do we place AI in this? Where best can we apply a new innovation that will actually serve the business goal or purpose or customer need in this situation? So these are all foundational. Again, laying this foundation, we establish the modern commerce that all manufacturers should be getting on to today. But by getting onto those platforms, such as Spryker, now you have this foundation in which to start plugging in the appropriate AI where it makes the most sense and where it delivers on the most value and return on investment for that work.
Amazing.
Gosh,
I love
really
that. And I love that you're
last
calling out
sentence.
interoperability as being so critical to the success of digital transformation, because I hear that so often. And that really is going to be one of those pivotal foundational elements that allow organizations to really reap the full benefits of new technologies like AI and generative AI, because the data is already there and it's moving where it needs to move, and it's being used and consumed by the applications that need it. And so it's just going to be more effective.
Yeah, I mean,
really fantastic point.
Yeah, no, just to add on to that, I really feel like as AI, generative AI in particular, these language models, they become more infused in our business, and our human operators are going to begin training these AI operators to sort of better assist us and automate some of the mundane things we're doing so that we can all get sort of at higher level thinking and innovating in ways that we've never imagined before. I also think that we're going to learn a lot more about how we interact with one another. So interoperability between the teams and the people that we work with. I think we're going to learn a lot of that. And we find that, again, in the clients that we work with today, they come to this realization, and by the time we're done implementing that initial foundation, they understand the practice. They understand the cyclical nature of continually innovating and continually optimizing on what they build.
Makes sense. Now, Bob, Mike mentioned that platforms like Spryker are really starting to enable this coordination across the digital ecosystem and bringing together these experiences for end buyers. And I'd love to hear from you, how does Spryker enable customers to really streamline their purchasing and have that anywhere, anything, anytime buying experience that they're looking for today?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. So Spryker's enterprise marketplace solution, it helps manufacturers enrich their product offerings with adjacent product categories or value-added services, and to introduce and test new niche products or categories, all without any risk or stock commitments. And this is the foundation for supporting the anything buying. Spryker's unified commerce solution, plus headless architecture, enables customers to integrate various sales channels, including online stores, mobile apps, marketplaces, and even offline channels. This ensures a seamless and consistent buying experience across all touch points, or the anywhere buying experience. Then we get to the anytime. Spryker offers self-service portals where B2B customers can manage their accounts, track orders, and access support resources. This empowers customers to handle their purchasing needs independently, reducing their reliance on sales representatives. This covers the anytime component of the buying experience. This is all supported by Spryker's API-first design, which enables easy integration with existing systems, third-party applications, and emerging technologies. This enables you to leverage the technologies you deem best to breed without extensive customization, and in turn, facilitates a streamlined and efficient purchasing experience.
I love that. Okay, so I'm catching you there. You've got anything with Spryker Marketplace. You've got anywhere with Unified Commerce, also supported by Spryker. Anytime with Spryker's use case that's been used by various customers for self-service portals, right? So that enables the customer to kind of have that self-guided experience Mike was talking about before. I love that. Do you have any examples of customers who are doing this today, who've successfully implemented and are using these types of use cases today?
Yeah, you know what? I think all of our customers are great examples of this because all of them have chosen digital transformation as a means to better serve their customers. But here's how they do it a little bit differently. Banner Engineering is approaching this by delivering a seamless, mobile-friendly buying experience. They implemented a marketplace business model, integrated a new storefront design, and added functionalities like mini cart, add to cart, and order history. They also rolled out a user-friendly mobile experience so that their customers can make purchases on the go. Wooner is an electronic parts manufacturer in Europe, and they needed to incorporate their customers' complex pricing requirements into the digital channel experience. And with their site, they integrated real-time pricing, which takes into account volatile raw material costs plus customer-specific pricing and discounting, which allows them to present different dynamic pricing per customer group. They also introduced automated quoting, which enables real-time quotes, even for complex orders. And this significantly reduced the time for their customers to finalize their purchasing decisions. So that's how I think our customers are doing it a little bit differently.
Amazing. I love that, right? Because you've got the foundation of creating this end-to-end buying journey. You've got the anything, anytime, anywhere kind of capabilities that are already inherently part of the Spryker platform. But then it sounds like customers are really applying it based on their business needs, their customers' needs, and doing things that are very unique to the market in order to deliver that experience. That's cool. Thank you. I appreciate just you sharing those stories, Bob.
Of course.
Now, Mike, based on your experience working with a lot of organizations, how do you recommend that manufacturers really start to empower every stakeholder along the value chain, from sales agents to operators, to start improving the user experience? Like, how do we get started? Let's do this.
So yeah, it's a great question. We take a very serious approach to user-centric design. So when we think about users and the digital experience, we of course talk about the traditional UX design, that journey that a customer goes through on the website and the steps along the way and the designs of the website itself. But really, when we think about the user, there really is no internal or external user. It's how do we enable each of the roles that are in the process along the way to have exactly what they need at the time that they need it. Like Bob was saying, anywhere, that anytime, anywhere, as you need it, on demand expectation of digital convenience is not isolated to your customers. It's also your internal business operators. It's giving them the prompts at just the right moment that they need to serve those customers. For example, a quoting process is a very typical use case in B2B and manufacturing, and those aren't typically a single self-serve event. It is often a coordinated event. We often have technicians within large B2B customer situations. Those technicians may be looking at service repair on a piece of an equipment, and they may be identifying parts and looking at the specifications and bill of materials for a part, placing those on purchase lists, but never actually procuring them themselves. They may roll into a procurement office, and in that procurement office, they're now consolidating these orders from many different technicians in the field, and then they're working with the buying company, so the manufacturer. They're working with the sales office there, facilitating the quoting process. So these are all touch points along an interactive journey that is facilitating the business that we're trying to empower with digital capabilities. Whether we're building that on the portal or the storefront or in the back office tooling that we provide to those sales representatives, it's key that we're considering that experience holistically, and not simply for the individual that is buying at the end of the day. So that supply chain, the value across that chain is really in the coordination, in the accuracy of the data, the consistency of that interoperability between those systems, and ensuring that each individual user is getting from the system what they expect to be able to perform their responsibilities. We think about this again, not as consumers wanting something, but rather these are business users attempting to accomplish the task that they've been given, and manufacturers providing them the digital capabilities to do that conveniently.
Amazing. Thank you, Mike. I think that's been an incredible kind of overview of what manufacturers should be expecting and should really start thinking about in the next, year, 2 years, as customers continue to demand more of these types of experiences. We're about at time. So to wrap things up, I want to leave it on a positive, very forward-looking note. This question is actually for both of you. What future trends do you foresee in the B2B manufacturing industry that will further impact customer experience? So it's not something we've talked about today, like what's next? And then how should manufacturers prepare? So Mike, why don't you go first?
Sure. Yeah, I imagine a lot of touchless automation. So again, as we build these modern systems and manufacturers understand how their customers are interacting with these systems, what tasks they're engaged in, and what expectations they have, they should begin, again, with AI, but even just traditionally looking at these processes closely, begin identifying where they can automate or eliminate steps and really predict what are the relationships that we need to establish. This can be demand forecasting, certainly. This could be inventory forecasting, lead time management. It could be all the fundamental capabilities that manufacturing needs. But I think even more so, they're going to begin discovering that the more data they collect, the more relationships they build, and the more sensor technology that's available for these heavy-duty industry capabilities, the more potential digital halo services they're going to be able to create around their equipment and better serve their customers. So I think that's one aspect of it. Of course, AI, generative AI in particular, I think will be significant. I'm particularly interested in what I think of as sort of the more audio apps, the apps that are effectively in your earbud and that you just interact with. Bob talked earlier about headless. I think that's key because today the screen is effectively the primary head. I think tomorrow we're going to have a lot of audio interactions that are going to be the primary interaction point for technology, digital interactions, and transactions. So I think that's one to keep an eye on. But before we get there, again, it's going to be key that they understand each of the steps and the capabilities that they're empowering today. And that's every company, whether you're a customer of a manufacturer, understanding what systems you need to interact with as a company to do your business, or you're that manufacturer providing those capabilities to either direct customers, to dealer channels, or potentially even other organizations and partnerships.
Amazing. Thank you. Bob, what do you have to say? What do you think's coming next?
Sure. At a very high level, I'm seeing increasing competitive disruption from global competition. For example, more market flooding and shifting consumer demand, which works its way up the value chain. And of course, the accelerating adoption of new technologies, be it IoT, Gen AI, blockchain, or other yet unknown technologies.
Yeah.
How do the manufacturers prepare? I think they'll need to look for ways to increase customer loyalty through better engagements. Their digital strategy needs the flexibility to integrate these new technologies seamlessly and cost effectively. And as always, they need to look for opportunities to reduce costs in order to protect their margins.
I love that. Makes sense, right? We all need to grow, but grow profitably. It can't be growth at all costs, right? Gentlemen, thank you so much. We covered a lot of ground today. I think that we certainly left our audience with a lot of things to consider, and hopefully we get a lot of questions later on. So thank you to those who joined us and listened in on kind of what we're starting to see with respect to the evolving landscape for manufacturers. We hope to see you next time. Have a great day.
Thank you.